We have this border across New Mexico where these kids are coming in. It says 152,000. One, as I say, is too many. They're going into that sort of area. Now, a lot of research I've been doing is there's lots of tunnels underneath the New Mexico border going into the Mexico border into Texas and right up all the way up to the top there to Arizona by the looks of it. But the tunnels that I'm looking into seem to be under New Mexico. And I have the feeling that some of these children are going into some projects there that people would rather you didn't know about, and I have reasons to believe that. Does this any way connect to the Epstein compromat situation and probably further afield?
I think it does, but I couldn't prove that today as I sit here in a court of law. I believe it does because what you essentially have is a connected network of criminals, all of whom are ultimately serving themselves for their own wealth and power. They're willing to do apparently anything to get that wealth and power for themselves. And what we're finding is no matter if it's this group or that group globally, the same people that are pushing for this globalist agenda, this one world agenda, the global Marxist cabal, the same people that are talking about genocide. How can we radically reduce the population?
It's not too far and it's not too out there to say, or at least ask the question, that some of these might be going into some of these programs that are in New Mexico and further afield. We know there's a lot of underground facilities there, and we know there's at least I think it was 170 underground tunnels found between the Mexico and US border since 1990. So I don't think it's too much of a bizarre question to wonder, or at least ask, are some of these going into some of the underground facilities in possibly New Mexico? And does this have an Epstein connection? He has a ranch in New Mexico, Zorro Ranch, and that's when he got cut off. So let's go back to that.
Okay, so if you have these criminal networks who are willing, these members of which are willing to do seemingly anything to be members of these clubs for the wealth and power, then what I see that they all end up sharing in common is the sick abuse that they do to children. And I didn't understand it for a while. I'm beginning to understand it a lot more now, but there's a science to human sexuality. There's a genetic code there. And the different studies, they figured out the different factors that are attractive to us as far as identifying strong, healthy mates to breed strong, healthy offspring for the species, right? And whatever you imagine health looks like, a lot of those features are demonstrated in that. And that's how we're wired to reproduce and choose mates. And there's a lot that goes into that. And children don't have any of those features or attractive features. So it's a very dark and sick mind that gets all the way down to harming a child that can't defend themselves and doesn't understand sexuality. And it's a very dark and dysfunctional thing. And to normalize it is darker still. And so in our documentary Contraland, we unpacked Alfred Kinsey and how he was paid to try to normalize that through the scientific realm and falsified studies and all that. So why are all these people doing this to children? I don't believe personally that they just have a natural attraction sexually to children. That doesn't seem to be the case. What keeps being proven out to us through many, many survivors of satanic ritual abuse is that there's a whole list of things that these people will do in ceremonies to children to earn their right to be in these clubs. So if you hear anybody talking about secret societies or secret clubs, and there's a list of them, and they're religious institutions, some of which at the top invert, meaning they turn to the opposite side. They go from good to evil at the very, very top ranks. We're seeing that in secret societies. We're seeing that in lodges and clubs. And the problem is you have public-facing institutions manned by elected officials or people that are paid to run these institutions in good faith. And in the daytime, they're one thing. In the nighttime, they're putting on robes and they're doing their thing with children. It's very dark and despicable, and that's their secret, and that's what they share in common.